Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel. And I got another recap for you guys. Married at First Sight, Australia, season 9, episode number 32. And we are definitely winding down to the end of this crazy, crazy season. With that being said, there is a boys' night and a girls' night who bring a little bit of chaos with the return of both Daniel and Carolina. But we're going to unpack all of that in a few. But before we do, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. If you like the video, smash that like button and also feel free to drop a comment down in the comment section below. So, as you guys know, the couples that are remaining have been doing and completing their final dates. And it's been enjoyable for some, while others it's not so enjoyable. And with that being said, that brings us to Brent and Tamara. So things got to be so bad for these two that they are now living in separate apartments. And they haven't even spoken to the other since that date. So they're pretty much on the outs because we got final vows on Sunday. And so, yeah, it's not really looking good for those two. However, there is one more couple, and I know everybody was anticipating whether or not this particular couple was going to have a date. And that is Olivia and Jackson. So they did finally get their date. Everybody was definitely wondering what happened because we did not see it in episode 31. Well, here we go. So they were the last couple to go off on their date, and Jackson is pulling out all stops when it comes to trying to woo his wife, Olivia. What he ended up doing, they decided to, what he did was they walk into a home covered in white roses, which was her favorite, by the way. Jackson also treats her to a bubble bath with rose petals, a glass of wine. She even put on her little cosmetic face mask as he's in there cooking dinner. And then he pulled out another surprise for her, which is this diamond necklace before dropping a question that kind of switched the mood. Um, he asked her, if you have an issue with one of my friends, how you think you're going to be able to handle that? Well, her response was, you know what? I don't know. I've had issues with boyfriends, friends in the past, and that definitely kind of lit a light bulb over Jackson's head. She did tell him that she'll talk to him about it first, but that he has to understand that she might not want to be included in any plans that involve them. And as we saw, Olivia's response definitely didn't help Jackson as he's still pretty much concerned about it. And I mean, if in fact what we're seeing is who she is, yeah, I could see why he would definitely be concerned about that because you want your significant other to play nice around, friends and family. I mean, if the family is being rude, disrespectful, and all of that, then yeah, that's a different story. But, if it's just simple, basic things that you can't get along with your spouses or significant other's friend, yeah, that's a problem. So, Jackson, obviously, he told the cameras that that's something that he was going to have to look out for and that he's definitely concerned about the situation if it arises with her meeting his friend. So, we'll definitely see. So let's talk about this boys and girls night. We're gonna start with the boys night out. So all of the men arrive and yeah, they're sitting around talking about how they even making bets about the fact whether Daniel was gonna show up or not. But first came Anthony, Matt strolled in, Al definitely making appearance because he decided to do the worm. And yeah, I'm like, that's Al. Al is gonna be Al no matter what. Then we see Dion walk in. He's telling the guys that he got dealt a bad card with the whole Daniel and Carolina situation. Now, I don't know if you guys were on the live yesterday, but one of the things we talked about was that Dion, because apparently Dion is with his ex-girlfriend, and I just got a little bit of news because we was trying to figure out how much time it was that they broke up before the show. Allegedly, he actually broke up with the girl 4 days before coming on the show. And then people, yeah, it's all over social media right now. So people kind of giving Dion the side eye. It's like, okay, you broke up with your girl, come on the show. You mad about Carolina and the situation with Daniel, and then when you leave the show, you get back with the girl. Go figure. I just wanted to drop a little bit of tea because that's what we sometimes talk about over here. But he was like, "Hey, I have no intent in hanging out with the guy." Most of the guys there are on Dion's side. Then Daniel walks in, and Maddie was like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" I don't blame him. There's a lot of tension in the room. I mean, you can tell it was so tense, so quiet. It was so thick that they can cut the tension with a knife. Daniel, he sat at the table with them. We heard this crazy silence. It was out of control. Anthony kind of breaks that silence and asks, "You got anything to say?" Daniel broke it down. He was like, everything that happened with Carolina, he messaged her first in her DMs. They're currently in a relationship, been together 24/7 since officially leaving the experiment, and they've also had sex with each other and on their way to falling in love. And he admitted, what I did was probably crossing the line, but you know, I guess he was thinking like he had to take advantage of the opportunity. It wasn't a good look in front of that group, you know, and they wasn't liking it at all. Um, but he does say it's been really effing good. So he wasn't biting his tongue with these guys. Now, Dion is sitting back there quietly watching this whole thing, and he finally has something to say. He has to tell Daniel that the way he handled himself was truly disgusting. It was disrespectful to him, not only to him, but to every person sitting in that experiment. Called him a liar, called him a cheater, and by what he did, he claimed that it took his opportunity of having an ounce of connection with Carolina because he was in her DMs. And he was like, the way he looked at it, Carolina, she threw away a diamond and she picked up a rock. That obviously was an insult. And talking about, oh, I don't understand where you get off, who you think you are. And Daniel clapped back now. I mean, he was like, what I got was the girl that I wanted. So at the end of the day, if I could go back 100 times, I would do the same thing 100 times. And Jack was like, you know what? Holy crap. That's the problem. Now, it seemed like, he had no remorse, which is also what Jackson said. Um, and that he's pretty much saying that the two of them were happy at the expense of Dion's feelings. Um, that Dion turned around and tell Daniel to finish his wine and get out. But Daniel was like, I ain't going nowhere. I get pretty much he was like, I'm gonna leave when I wanna leave. Um Later that night, then we got this whole thing with Mitch. And I don't know why Mitch even got in this. Who knows? It was like, dude, you don't need to be talking about nothing. Anyway, he was like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't effing want to rate you. And Dane was like, okay, cool. I ain't got no problem with that. Later, Daniel is asked if he's actually in love with her, and he said, well, it hasn't been long enough. And Mitch, who again, it shouldn't be really saying anything because he need to figure out what him and Ella is going to do about moving to the Gold Coast. Worry about yourself, dude, if that's even going to happen. But he turns around and tells him, only thing that you in love is with her P. And that pissed him off. Daniel was like, "That's your opinion. Don't be talking about my girl." Mitch is like, "Nah, this is just a fling. Just have a little bit of fun. Do what you do." He thought that was disrespectful, and honestly, I mean, why? I thought that was a low blow for Mitch too. I'm like, really, dude? You gonna tell that man that he's in, obviously because he's in a relationship with Carolina, talking about her in that way was extremely offensive to Daniel. He's furious. Then we get all these insults that's flying back and forth. Mitch ain't backing down. His blood is boiling. Daniel calling him scum, and he don't know nothing about their relationship. So pretty much he need to keep his mouth closed. Here's my issue with this. Okay, first of all, just say Dion was actually here for the experiment, allegedly, from what I said. Well, if he was here for the experiment, because of what I said earlier, allegedly about the girlfriend 4 days before the experiment getting back with the girl. How many times do you have to hear from somebody, "I don't want to be with you," especially if they checked out from the beginning of this whole process? She checked out. She told him she wasn't interested. She obviously wasn't attracted to him. How many times this girl got to tell you, "I don't want to be with you"? And she said on not one commitment ceremony, but two commitment ceremonies that she wanted to leave. The only reason that she had to stay is because he said stay because of the rules of the show. If one of the partners say stay, guess what? The person that said leave, they stuck with it. So, I mean, how many times do you have to be told, "I don't want to do this. We can only be friends." So it's all a mush pot, especially with everything coming out about the current girlfriend who was the ex-girlfriend. A lot of people giving Dion the side eye now. And I mean, I didn't like the fact that he was pushing something really that the other person really didn't want to be involved in. And of course, when you sign up for this show, it is what it is. She knew what she signed up for with this contract. So if she was supposed to stay and try to work it out, maybe she should have, but mentally she was just not there. Now he's trying to blame that on Dion, and if Dion, I mean, blame it on Daniel. And if Daniel wasn't in the way in her DMs, then he would have had a chance. I don't think so. I mean, that's just my thought. I mean, because she's just not interested. Even if Daniel stayed with Jess or if Daniel moved on and disappeared from the show. We didn't see Andrew. So, even if he did disappear from the show, I truly think Carolina still would have been checked out. So it's a mush pot. I try to tell what I know versus what's on the show. So that's what we do over here. But that pretty much sums up everything that happened at the boys' night. But let's talk about the girls' night. So with the girls, they go to this restaurant, and the restaurant that they're at happens to also be not bartended by, not waited by, but managed by Brent. And then Ella is asking Tamara, "Oh, well, what does he do there? What does he do here?" She's like, "I think he wait tables. He says he's a restaurant specialist, but I have no idea. He likes to make up stuff, to sound good." She's over it. And I'm like, "Tamara, really? Obviously, Brent has told her about his whole days in Dubai, and now he is in hospitality management, and you want to disrespect not just him, but you're disrespecting other wait staff that actually does this job. It's a job, it's work. So for her to say that was, yeah, it was sour. So, they're definitely bringing in all of the ladies. Everybody's excited. All of the familiar faces. Holly is there. We get to see her. Um, and then we also get to see Kate. We get to see Sam, Selin. Now, let's talk about Selin because Selin wants to know everything that went down at the retreat because she heard from a little birdie, from somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that something went down with the ladies at the retreat. And Sam is like, how about we leave what happened at the retreat in the past? Because we ain't trying to go through all of that. The brides ignore her. She's still asking and asking. And, Tamara was like, look, we don't want to talk about it. She snapped back at Selin. And, there's been a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of drama. And trying to rehash all of this from a couple days ago, she said was hard for people. Selin won't quit. And Tamara isn't happy that Selin won't quit. She tells the camera Selin is pretty much there to poke the bear, and she just needs to sit back and just shut up. Uh, and she got loud. Both of them get loud. Tamara snapping, Selin is snapping. Selin call them girls rude. Um, Tamara, pretty much tell them again, look, we don't want to talk about the retreat. And then, of course, that even furthers the whole thing even more. And Selena is like, this is why, because you want to keep yelling like you do at Brent. I was like, oh, yeah, that was crazy. And I'm like, what do you know about what's going on with them two? Obviously, she's been watching from afar at home. Anyway, that is still didn't stop Celine because she continued to pry and poke, and that pretty much cracked it for Tamara. She told her, "I don't want to listen to you. I'm furious at the fact that you left a long time ago, and then you think you can say that I've been leading him on." Told her to get over it. Well, she told her to get over it. And Tamara was like, I'm not going to get over it. This whole back and forth, it was just like, oh my God. The interesting thing about all of this is the fact that Olivia and Dominica had nothing to say. Nothing. So they was pretty much like, and a lot of people in social media was saying that production told them to keep their mouth shut, not to talk about it. We heard a couple of words from Olivia, but Dom didn't say too much of anything that we saw. Those, as we talked about yesterday on the live, those dinner parties and stuff like that is ours. So maybe Dom did have something to say. We just didn't see it. Anywho, then this whole thing with Carolina starts because Tamara is also furious at Carolina because of a text the bride sent to, Dion. And she was, something about the whole thing of telling Dion, well, it's not a real relationship, it's just TV. And they clapped back at her saying, well, if it's just TV, why did you go get with Daniel and then try to be on the experiment if it was just TV when you was with Dion? And I'm like, oh, okay. They got you on that one, girl. I was like, yeah, that's a good point. If it's only TV and it's not a big deal when it comes to Dion, but you get with Daniel and then you decide to ask to be on the experiment with him, it shouldn't have mattered. You should have just got on to your relationship and went on home. But that was a good point. And she was not remorseful. Carolina was like, look, life is too short. The opportunity is there for you. I wasn't going to miss it. So she took it. It's gonna be interesting to see how if they're still together because you guys, they had filmed this back in the fall of 2021. So we're now about 6 months past the whole filming of it all, but we'll have to see if these 2 are still together, and I think they are because 'cause I've seen a lot of clips and things and interviews or conversations that they've had with, different people, in the media. So, yeah, obviously, they're still together, but, yeah, she was not Tamara was not happy about how Carolina treated Dion, but Carolina had the resting face of, "I'm unbothered," so she really didn't care. At the end of the day, she said that she's happy where her and Daniel are in the terms of their relationship, and she said, "I couldn't care less what Tamara thinks. She should have a good look at herself, a good look at her own relationship, and leave mine alone because I'm happy for myself, so who cares?" So it seems like at the end of this whole episode, it's clear that Carolina and Daniel's scandal was definitely the highlight of the night. Tensions was high. But this whole thing was Selin poking the bear. Tamara is fussing at Carolina. Jess, because we forgot to speak about Jess. Jess didn't care less. Jess was like, if he's happy, I'm cool with it. As long as he wasn't talking and texting Carolina when we were together, it's no problem. If I was already out the door and gone, she was cool with it. I'm like, Jess is probably the only mature one in that moment because Jess could have been petty. She could have been like, oh my God, blah blah blah. She was like, nope. As long as it was after me, I'm good. It don't matter. So it was a pretty crazy episode. We're probably going to talk more on it when I do the live. Coming up this weekend, episode 33 is our final episode, which is on Sunday, which is the final vow. So we'll see who stay together. And like I said on the live last night, we're also going to do a tea party. So any new updates after the season, any new tea, any new anything that comes up after the season's over, I'm going to do a live tea party. So stay tuned for that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Drop comments down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this dinner party. And until the next video, we will see you soon. Bye.